Dave,
John.
Shane,
Chad.
these sci-fi guys.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Guys. I am Dave, and with me is Shane.
What's up?
Chad.
What's up, guys?
And John.
Hello. I don't want to do
to
what's
make
up.
sure I gave y'all some time to talk before I just started talking.
See, learning, progress. That's key for us.
Progress.
That's right.
Yeah.
A little better each time.
Speaking of progress, we're going to talk about the movie Blade Runner from 1982. Harrison Ford. Think about this, man. Harrison Ford did Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Indiana Jones, and Blade Runner all in the same, well, maybe not Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. They were all around early 80s.
Yeah.
You know, all around the same time. I mean, he was top notch for sure.
Yep.
I will say he was the least Harrison Fordish. I think I've seen him in this movie.
True.
This is the most different looking he looked.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
with that.
he was.
He must
And there
have
is a
fit-
point to that. As a
Yeah, he
matter of
must have
fact,
filmed-
go ahead, Chad. Go ahead, Chad.
He must have filmed this after Empire because Hans had hair. He had buzz hair on this one.
Mhm.
Well, let's go behind the scenes and figure it out. Okay, you want a plot synopsis? Here you go. A Blade Runner, basically a cop, must pursue and terminate 4 or 6 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creator. And the reason I said 6 is if you go back and watch the original trailer, it said there was 6, 3 women and 3 male. And if you watch the original movie, I watched the final cut. I think that's what Shane did. Is that what you guys watched, Shane? You and John? Did y'all watch
I'm
the
not
final cut?
sure. To be
I watched
honest.
the one on
original
Netflix.
theatrical?
I don't know. I feel like it said 6 people in mine, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I went back and watched mine just on my other computer right before here, just for a little bit, and it said 4. He did say 4. But if you went, I found the trailers on YouTube, and they say 6.
Yeah, the
So-
original says 6, though.
The original said 6. When they did the final cut, they fixed it and said 4 because that's all they paid actors to be was 4 of them. So anyway, yeah. So behind the scenes, okay. Philip K. Dick is the one who wrote this book. It was called "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" I know it sounds goofy, it sounds really weird, but that was the name of it. Ridley Scott ended up taking it and turned it into a futuristic setting.
Fair.
I mean, it was. I've never read the book, so I can't quote, say anything about that. But I can tell you about what some of the things about Ridley Scott. For example, the final scene, where they were doing all the fighting, where Roy and Rick. I can't say Rick. I'm going to call him Deckard and Batty. Okay, so Batty is the blonde hair guy, and then Deckard obviously was Harrison Ford. So, the final scene of Blade Runner was shot mere hours before the producers were planning to kick Ridley Scott out and change the movie completely.
Ooh.
Wow.
They just didn't like some things, and I'll get into that here. So the final confrontation was originally supposed to be a martial arts fight in an old gym.
Okay.
And then Batty, the guy the actor that played Batty, he says, we really shouldn't do like a martial arts. It doesn't go with the movie. So, he just said, hey, we should have Batty pursue Deckard. Ridley says, good idea. Let's do that. All right. So Ridley Scott's initial cut of the Blade Runner clocked in at a whopping
Oh, no.
4 hours.
No. Absolutely could not.
4 hours. Yes. It was 4 hours long. And
Wow.
everyone who saw it said it was beautiful work, but it was practically incomprehensible because all the time had to explain everything. All right, Chad, here's your answer. Just finish Raiders of the Lost Ark, which required Harrison Ford to wear the fedora in almost every scene. Harrison Ford really did not want to wear a hat in this movie. So right before he started shooting, he went to a barber and got a contemporary haircut that wouldn't allow Ridley Scott to cover it up with a hat. And
That sounds
Ridley,
like him.
let's see here. Yeah. Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford basically had a lot of disagreements throughout this entire thing. Even before the shooting began, they butted heads over the script. For example, Ford hated the voiceover narration. I think Shane told me he loved that part of it earlier offline. And Harrison Ford hated it. He's like, no, this is dumb. He's like, you should, if you want to, instead of telling people, you need to show them the detective work, show them how to do this instead of telling people about it. He was also frustrated with his impersonal directing style, but the main disagreement was about the mystery, whether Deckard was a replicant or not, whether he was an android. All right. Ford had felt betrayed. Ford said, no, it is not. Period. Scott edited the film to make it seem ambiguous. So they really argued over that a lot. So let's look at Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 89%. Popcorn meter was a 91%. So obviously it's very similar numbers to Time Bandits last week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, okay, here we go. Budget was $28 million. John, did it make money?
No.
Okay, John says no. Chad,
Yes.
Shane.
Yes.
Okay, there is a caveat to this. John is right.
Oh,
What?
man.
It only grossed $27 million.
Man, Dave, you
Originally.
just broke my streak.
I'm just telling you. Hold on. Now, there is a reason for this. The reason is because it came out at the exact same time as E.T.
Oh, okay.
Oh, see, that makes perfect
E.T.
sense.
killed everything in the box office.
Well, yeah.
E.T. was
Yeah.
the number one movie for the longest time. The Thing and Blade Runner, both of them were very dark movies,
Mhm.
and so they didn't have the wide range of appeal. However, so maybe you can say that you did get it right. If you add the final cut, which is what I said when I watched, and the
Mhm.
re-releases, it grossed $41 million. So
Gotcha.
depending on what numbers you look at, yes, it did.
I count my streak broken. That's all I count. I had a great losing streak.
You could say that all of us were right when you think about it.
Exactly. All of you
We're
were
all
right.
winners. Everybody gets
You
a
all
trophy.
were winners.
See, I was
Everyone
going with all and grow, all, not just.
That's right.
Well,
Everybody gets a
but
trophy.
there was this one had definitely circumstance because when it first came out, it did not make it. It didn't make money until much later.
Mhm.
That's just it. It wasn't until actually here I got the numbers right here because the original release was June 25th, 1982, and it did 27,000 domestic worldwide of 27 million. Sorry, 27.5 million worldwide. It did like 100,000. So when they released the final cut, which was in 1993, so 11 years later, is when, 3 million, 1 million, 6 million, 350,000, 54,000, it started adding up. So in essence, that I wanted to kind of, I didn't want to just look at the whole big picture numbers without actually saying, did it make money originally? So anyway, Sorry, that was kind of long drawn out. Let's go ahead and go to our questions. And let's move John up there since he's the one asking.
I mean, hey, do we want to go behind the scenes on how these questions got made, Dave, or do we just roll with it?
No, that's right.
Oh
Just
man,
roll
guys.
with it.
Roll
Hey.
with it.
We have a good time.
I may have
together. I'll
had
say
some
that
input
much.
on some of these questions, everyone. So
Yeah, because someone had an egg hunt this weekend and forgot it was his movie officially. So
until he got
I
a text
digress.
this afternoon. Hey, do you need some help?
and I gladly took it and ran with it. So
That's
anywho,
right.
I'll start, I guess, with what I consider to be the easiest question, and that is just what do you guys think about the movie's timeline with how technology would advance up to 2019? I mean, we've looked at a lot of films that kind of try to jump ahead in time from when they were around, and so I'm just curious what you guys, how well you think this film did, I guess, at predicting 2019.
Well, considering what 2019 was, not very well. Yeah. You could tell that it was trying to look very much into the future, and with that being in the past for us, we're like, yeah, we're not to that point yet.
On some things, we were. I mean, we have video. What with our phones, we've got video chatting and all that. You know, I mean, the cars were still cars; they still
Yeah.
drove around.
I just
You
want
know.
the flying car. I want the flying car. I'm
The
just
flying
saying.
cars, okay, those were the
The
coolest part
elusive
of the
flying
car,
car.
Yeah.
you know.
I want
But
that.
I mean, they had dirigible. They had a big flying blimp around that was, you know, advertising everything.
True.
You know,
Mhm.
so and a lot of the you notice a lot of these back then. You know, they it seems like a lot of them take our Far East brothers and sisters and
Mhm.
make them the focal point of a movie. You know, the Chinese
Oh,
or
that's true.
Japan,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. You know, and over in the Orient. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it's cool. You know, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you'll notice several TV shows do the same
Mhm.
thing. You know, Firefly does the same thing, very similar, where everyone speaks some type of Mandarin.
Mhm.
Did I say that right? Mandarin? Is that right?
Mandarin.
Mandarin, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm thinking Mandalorian for some reason, but that's not right.
Right.
That's completely different.
Right.
But yeah, I think they got some things right. I don't think they got everything right. I mean, I'd like to know what in the world happened between 82 and 2019 to make it where it was raining all the time,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and dark all the time. The sun never
Mhm.
came out.
Mm-mm.
They had to move underground. That's the key.
Right.
Yeah.
Supposedly it was supposed to be a nuclear fallout. There was like a world war in the book. It's supposedly a world war, but Ridley Scott never mentions it in there because he's like, I don't care. It's not a big deal. It's just what it is.
That sounds like Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Well,
Anybody else?
Well, you got to think.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with that. What Dave said. I mean, it's what happens between 82 and 19. Well, we did Back to the Future. It went to 2015 with showing flying cars and hoverboards and all kinds of stuff. And then, here, make it 4 years later, and it's dark premise. I kind of agree with David. What happened? Like, why was it that way?
Yeah, fair. And I mean, I definitely see they got some things right, and it seems like a lot of their more predictive future stuff. It's I don't think it was necessarily wrong. We just haven't made it there yet. Because I know, like the flying cars, even in 19, we were still actively working on because they're working on little quadricopters that are good for individuals, and a lot of the other tech, the image enhancement, we're starting to hit with AI a little more, and things like that. So I mean, I can definitely see where they were close, but they didn't quite hit the home run. Like it hit the top of the fence and then bounced back in play, kind of deal for me. So it was pretty good, pretty good. All right, moving on. when we look at this film and the idea of these replicants, I want to start with, do you think it would be ethical to create artificial beings with a potential for their own consciousness? So kind of like AI with feeling, but also in a real body. Like how ethical do you guys think that was?
Not very ethical on that on that part of this movie. I mean, everybody knows I think everybody knows my stance. You sit there and put a living conscience in a Android, any AI based thing, it's give it free will. It's not gonna go well. And we'll see later on in our movie series where will it land at. So I don't think they should give it free will or free thinking as thing.
Well, I think that goes to anything. If you give anything free will, it's going to rebel. I mean, let's look at the Garden of Eden. You know,
I say, look at
Adam and
humanity.
Eve were there. They finally got free will. God said, don't eat that tree right over there. Don't eat the fruit from that tree. You can do anything else. And then you have free will, and they have free will. And of course, they rebelled. You know, they got tricked, but at the same time, they made the choice, and they were there doing the choice together. So, I think as for ethics, no, I don't think it is, just because robots are robots. They're not human beings. How does a robot, I'm just going to use robot instead of android or replicant or whatever you want to call it. How does it have a soul? How does it have, everything about it is artificial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have artificial sweetener, or sugar?
Whether a thing.
I was gonna say that's a tricky question for a man on a diet. All right, listen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just using that for example. I mean,
I know
there are things that are artificial, and then there are things that are genuine. All right. Would you rather have I don't know, I'm just using an actual Lego set, or would you rather have a Temu brand offshoot or something? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I could see that. I would say that I do agree with the fact that as far as from the ethical standpoint, I don't think it's ethical. But I also kind of think that where Dave was kind of going with this, I do think that it is what humanity does. I think we are always looking to create, and we are looking to see if we can create the same way that God created. And as John said, as Dave said, one of the biggest things when you look back to the Garden of Eden was that free will is actually what kind of took us away from that perfect union with God. So when you think about that, what humans are actually trying to do is they're trying to create that same level of intelligence, that same level of just the same level of creation. But because we are flawed in our nature, we are going to create something that is flawed also. So I think the ethical part is definitely not, but I think that it is in our nature to try to push forward and to keep going to that next step, even though it most likely will be our downfall.
Yeah. Listen, I think hammer on the head on that one, Shane. Just that idea that something that is flawed cannot create something perfect. I think at the end of the day, I don't think we necessarily, I know we have to ask the ethical question, but at the end of the day, does it really matter if we can't really create something that has that ability to begin with? And at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think we do. I think we're very limited in the fact that, well, realistically, we're not God. We can't actually impart that type of consciousness. And even if we can create something that looks like it, at the end of the day, it is a fake. And so I think for us to create anything that looks like consciousness, realistically, it's still programming a set of rules that have to be followed. Even if you get to the point where you have it thinking about those rules and how it follows them, I think at the end of the day, it still has to stick to some set of rules that we impart on it, which is where we get into like self-driving cars and a lot of the dilemmas we have with it. Like, okay, well, we need to train it what decision it's going to make if it's up against, 5 people versus one. Well, what if that one's a convicted felon who escaped? Like, you start to get into obviously a lot of philosophy in that, but it's just that idea that like, no matter what, you kind of have to program the rules to begin with. And is that really actual consciousness? And I think that's where at the end of the day, we don't really, we can't really program that / hit it.
Yeah.
Well, regardless of that ethicalness, could a replicant be considered a person? That's the follow-up.
The question
No.
was a person, not a human. So I'd have trouble with that. I would say no, but you guys may think something differently. I mean, to me, it's just it's something that somebody created. It was something that somebody programmed. It does not have a soul of its own. It does not have, it may be able to think on its own. I know Star Trek The Next Generation is really big on, what is life? If something is sentient, if something thinks for itself, then they are considered a life form. Actually, I think I'm talking myself into it could be a person, because if it is sentient and it is thinking on its own and it's making decisions on its own, I think it could be a person. Now that I kind of talk it out, I'm going to say yes.
I think
Somebody else.
Dave, to your point, I think the character of Rachel kind of proved that. I think the character of Rachel kind of proved that it could be, because even though she was one, she really displayed many of those human characteristics, and also, like you said, she learned, she evolved, and you could tell that even her even in her character. And I think that her character development kind of showed that. And even though there is, of course, a big difference with the does she have a soul? Does she not? Obviously she does not. But at the same point, those memories that they implanted in her, even when she found out that they were false, she actually kind of started to make some of her own memories. And I think that kind of shows that she was learning and developing and just kind of evolving.
Chad, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. But you kind of be on the fence. So you go back to a old classic of a horror monster film, Frankenstein. He goes to the guy they created was just trying to make life, just trying to bring something back to life so you can make it immortality. But the monster itself said he wants to live. He wants the soul. He wants to be part of life. Fence wise, yeah, I agree with all that. Like, if you are conscious thinking and you making this, you're a sitting on you're a being. So it must be alive, must be something. So
yeah, see,
I took my dropout that said it's alive from Frankenstein, and I'm like, oh, I deleted that one. I never
Oh, it would have been
it's
so sick.
alive. So that would have been perfect, but I
It would have
deleted
been.
See,
You
for
know
me,
what's
the
good
answer
there.
to that one comes down to is how are they made? Because if we're talking like a skeletal frame that we've just imparted like some form of consciousness to, I think that's a whole different question. If we're talking they had a genetic code and we basically programmed a clone, I think there's a different question in that. Because if they are being made from human material, then yes, they can be considered a person. We've just created a very strange, brainwashed person from the get-go. But if it's more of the android style, cyborg style, we've imparted thinking into something with an underlying frame, I think that's a different question, and I don't necessarily think they are. And in my understanding in this movie, they were more like somehow genetically modified and then brainwashed, but I also don't entirely remember the specifics of the replicants. So y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on that. To me, they would be more so on that front. So that's just where I saw it from.
Well, they were designed to be able to go to inhospitable planets, and do work there rather than humans that couldn't do it. So
Mhm.
they naturally are stronger. They naturally have some kind of resistance to radiation or whatever, so yeah, but they did add blood. They did add warmth to the touch and everything to make the skin feel like. I mean, they did everything to make people think that they were human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, look at the final two that was there before the fight scene. The girl and the what was it? I forget the girl's name that was trying to hide like a skeleton, like a mannequin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
those two were almost looks like they were like together. They were, hey, I'm a couple. They were just trying to figure out how to stay alive.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it gets tricky, especially because I don't necessarily think they described it in detail enough to
No,
truly hash out for us. So I'll move on in that case. And that is lastly, kind of halfway fun, halfway probably leading into other parts and segments. And that is, would you have come back to take on the task like Decker did? Because, he was kind of like, man, I'm quit. I'm out. Now I'm doubly quit. I remember that being almost an exact quote. And then he still goes and just does it. So, like, would you guys have done that yourselves?
In a perfect world, no, but I think if I'm thinking back right, I think they kind of forced him into it.
mm-hmm.
Is that right? Am I
They
remembering
forced
that
them.
correctly? Yeah, they forced him into it. So, I mean, it depends on what they told me. Like you either do this or this will happen or whatever. Um, so I mean, really, it depends on what the stakes are. To be honest with you.
Remember at first they tried to like not force them. Hey, you were the best Blade Runner out there. You already should
Mhm.
have to. I said, no, I said I quit. I'm no longer in this business. Sure, sure. So I wouldn't do it personally. No, and we're all no. But if I was getting forced, or it was the last thing to last straw that to save something, probably.
yeah, I think he excuse me. I think he realized what the stakes were for having 4 of these replicants loose on Earth,
Mhm.
where people wouldn't know the difference until they snapped,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
obviously some of these people, some of them did. I mean, it seemed like all of them were kind of out there. I mean, other than
Yeah.
the dancer girl, she seemed like she was the only one that was somewhat normal of
Mhm.
the 4 of them.
Mhm.
Uh, but it was still, I don't know. Would I do it? Probably. I mean, most of my law enforcement friends, if the agency called them back, they would go back.
Mhm.
Most of my military friends, if they called them back, they would go back. So I would have to
Mhm.
say, yeah, I would go back and do it.
I would say, see, I'm probably more along your lines, Dave. Like, there's the big part of me that wants to say no, and then there's the part of me that just knows my weaknesses, and I could definitely be bought out very easily. I mean, you pay me enough money, I'm in all day. You want to call me the best and pay me a good paycheck? By all means, friends, let's go.
Yep. Yep.
Um, just truth be told on that one, I know who I am, and I know I could definitely be bought out bare minimum. So it might take more convincing than they gave him in particular, but they could manage. They could certainly manage. But
I
that's all
feel
I
that.
had.
Shane, did you say something else?
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought you said something else. Okay. All right. Well, then let's look at plot holes. All right, guys. Plot holes. Y'all know them. You love them. Throw them out there.
the one we just talked about. Why are we going back to Deckard? Or do we not have new trainees? Do we not have people who are good enough in the field? Where are they
No.
at? Why are we having to go back to this old guy again? Like, I don't understand why he's our first call. Now, like, okay, these guys have killed 30 of our best guys. Like, you're next in line. You were great can you come out of retirement, please, and help? Something tragic that has happened.
Yeah,
But
I mean, he
just-
wasn't in good shape.
No,
You know, when he took his shirt off, I mean, he looked like everyday guy. You know,
the replicants killed one investigator, and all of a sudden they're like, "No, we got to go to Deckard." No,
Yeah.
no, you would not.
Well, and just to further your point, John, because these were what the Nexus 6, right?
Yeah.
Weren't they the 6 series? Okay. Why were they not taking the newer ones and evolving them to go after these guys? Why were they not taking like the Series 7 or even was there a Series 8 or something like that yet? Anyway,
I don't think
why weren't they making new replicants to go after these older ones? Like they learn from them, make improvements, and then they send them out.
do it.
That's valid. I mean, you definitely train some new guys to go back after these old ones.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, it
Chad,
kind
did you
of-
see any?
Well,
Go ahead,
I mean,
Shane, since you're still talking.
Sorry. Well, it kind of relates back to the Soldier movie when they had the new ones come in that were coming to replace the older ones. You would think that that's kind of what they would do here. These Nexus 6 ones kind of went rogue, and the old ones went rogue. So let's actually make some ones that'll be ready and capable to actually go after these older ones.
But they're in the same universe, remember?
yeah.
True.
So why didn't they send the soldier after them?
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
See, it was just based off the same universe. Didn't it? See, it was.
That's true. True. Did you have any, Shane? I mean, Chad?
Well, yeah. Well, that was about what we hit. Why bring Decker back? Like, why? Like, instead of bringing him, like, and also, why do all those tests? Like, I'm gonna look here, and you look in the eye. Just have a handheld device, and it's you can see it's something they can see right here. Hey, I'm a non-human or something. A little mark or tell them.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Is in, you know, they had video evidence of who they were, what they look like. Why do you need to do the test? You know, if you have a video, you know, that showed each one of them, you know, rotating around and what they look like and their names and everything, to me, the test just didn't need to be made any sense. And I'm sure there's some kind of cybernetics or something in them that you could track. You know, whether it be a serial number. I think I remember a movie one time that had someone they could flip their eye down and you could see the serial number underneath the eyelid. It was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Runaway, maybe. I don't know. It was him and he was basically two characters, something like that, or behind the ear or something where you could say, "Oh, that's this guy," or "That's this guy," or whatever. You know. Okay, we got to talk about the ending.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that point.
Okay.
In general.
Well, no, not the ending, but the ending fight scene.
Yes. No, I'm with you.
What the heck happened to what was his name? Roy. Yeah. What the heck happened to Roy?
The Nexus person killed him off.
The Nexus guy. Yeah.
Killed him. Like,
Did somebody kill him? Did he just keel over and die?
No.
You never showed anything.
Somebody with the blonde hair guy?
Yes.
He was dying, remember?
Yeah, he killed over. He released a dove.
Yeah.
His time ran out.
Okay. Well, then, all right. Here you go. That's a plot hole. He was produced. If you remember the scene in 1996? No, 2016. He came online in 2016. Roy Batty came online in 2016, which means he should live until 2020. 4 years.
He should have
It's
1 more year.
2019. Why did he just all of a sudden die? I mean, you know, to me, that's just.
He put on a good show.
I mean,
Faulty.
if it was 2020, I could see it, or say, oh, hey, guess what? Came
It
online
was
in
actually
2015.
2015. That could
Yeah,
be it.
plausible.
Yeah. What? Okay. What happened with the friend that took him to see the tower? The main guy that was created him.
Oh
Sebastian?
yeah. What
Oh, yeah,
happened to
that guy.
him? Oh, he was dead. I did hear, at least on the one I saw, it said Sebastian his body was found. He was Decker was sitting in the car, and it was an announcement over the radio.
Hmm.
So he obviously killed him.
Yeah.
Also, I get this idea of like, oh yeah, you realize that we Nexuses aren't as dishuman as you would like, so I'm going to save you now after you've lived through all this fear. But
Mhm.
also, I don't get why Deckard was saved. Truthfully, that one's kind of out there for me. I would have much preferred just the beat down from Deckard, like the other way around, or let's just like expectation subversion and just let him fall. I don't know. I got it, but it also just didn't quite fit everything else that had happened up to that
Yeah.
point.
It made you care for the character, really. Oh, I had to
No,
check.
but I didn't care for him.
I
Yeah,
know.
that was my problem.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the thing was just trying to put. Oh, he had to change your heart. He just wants somebody to listen to, and
I mean, I get your point on it, Chad. I get what they were
Yeah.
going for. I just don't think it landed.
Yeah.
no, it never landed.
Well, since we're talking about landing this thing, let's go ahead and rate it. All right, John, you will start.
I don't like starting. I don't
I
like
can't help it.
starting.
You picked the movie, so you get to start.
I only picked it because I wanted to see the new one, and I wasn't going to watch the new one without seeing the old one. So here we are. Anyway, I'm going to say a lot of the credit I'm going to give it, and it's going to get a decent amount of credit, is mostly due because it was made in the 80s, and I think they did a phenomenal job for the 80s. I know we're coming off of Star Wars. Visual effects really had taken off at this point, but they carried a lot in the 80s that I don't think even some films into the late 90s, early 2000s could carry, just in terms of visual effects. So I give it a lot of credit there. I love just the jazz vignettes throughout the whole thing.
Mhm.
Personally, I mean, it definitely gives the detective vibe, but even past that, it's just really hilarious to me sometimes how it would kick over into jazz. The few faults I give it, realistically, some of the plot holes we talked about, the fact that to me it just didn't have enough action, and so for those two, it does bump it down a little bit more. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because I was somewhere between a 3 and a 4 on it. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It definitely beats a lot of our others, but I still don't think it's quite higher than that.
Mhm.
Okay, 3.5. Chad, how about you?
I'm trying. That's what I was trying to think. Like, I seen this movie when I was a kid. Thought it was all right. I mean, you gotta think, kid, you see this movie. Oh, that's cool. You like it. You want to watch it. Are you watching it in the aspect of would I watch it again? Yes, I would because it's what it is. I'll do a 3.5 just because for the very same reason what John was saying. It's for the what it is and compared to what came after it. It was they could have done. It could be way better movie than it was. It was still a good movie.
Okay, Shane.
So this was my first time seeing this movie, and I really enjoyed it. I will definitely watch this movie again. I thought it had a lot of potential, and it landed a lot of that potential. I felt like, I really enjoyed. I didn't think I would at first, but I really enjoyed the Harrison Ford narration going through it. I really enjoyed that. Didn't think I would, but it actually kind of grew on me. I'll be honest. I really enjoyed the character of Roy. He was very, very, very unpredictable, especially with the ending, and I kind of like that, to be honest with you. It was different. I'll also mention this too, and John kind of hinted at it. I thought the music was amazing. I thought it was great. The film composer was a Greek electronic music pioneer. His name was Vangelis. I might not be saying that right. Vangelis. But anyway, he also wrote the music for Chariots of Fire, which another great movie, another great subject. Dun 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 dun. You know, if you're thinking about that. But one fun fact about this was that he actually improvised a lot of the score real time. He would watch the scenes as the scenes are going, and
that's cool.
he would play them through. He improvised it most of the way through. So big props to that. But it really reminded me a lot of the style of music that Hans Zimmer did for the movie Dune, where it's very out there, very different. And I just think it fit. I think it fit very well. I really did not see a lot of plot holes in this movie. And just being honest with you, looking at some of my other ratings, I would rate this one up there. So I'm actually going to give this one a 4.5. I really enjoyed this movie.
Right on. Well, I struggled. I'll be honest. I started watching this one evening and I fell asleep. So I actually had to go back to the part where I kind of fell asleep at later on the next day to watch it again. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I must have just been really tired. Visually, I really liked what they did. And I understand. I mean, it was one thing I did read on here that it's, with a dark scene all the time and raining, you can cover up a lot of mistakes when it comes to buildings and things aren't finished correctly. It makes it a lot easier to film that way. I thought for the type of movie I prefer, it was a little slow.
I definitely agree with that.
And it's almost like, it's a slow burn. It took a while to get to where it was, but then I started looking at it, and I didn't think Harrison Ford's acting was all that good.
I would agree.
I hate to say that. His acting itself, I just thought the character should have done more in different aspects. Maybe we'll get into that in fixing. I'm with Chad and John. I'm going to give it I can't go any lower than a 3.5 because it was groundbreaking in the 80s. It really was a good movie. It does make you think. It's one of those that makes you think a lot. Would I've liked more action? Yes, I would have. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and fix it then on our own. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to either fix or improve this movie. Does anyone want to jump in? If not, I can start.
You go ahead.
Go for it, Dave.
All right. Sure. All right. So let me get to my notes here. I have notes all over the place. All right. Okay. First of all, why are replicants made to look human if they're going to be off-world and doing all this other stuff? And I get that, it basically the company, but I think they need to make the company a little bit more nefarious. That it had visions of grandeur eventually of taking over people, basically, and replacing them with a replicant. I think that might have been in another movie, but something along that line.
Yeah, it was another movie.
Where there's a reason why they came back to Earth. More than, hey, I want to see my creator. I just think that needed to be done a little better. I think that there should have been more actual fighting scenes, shoot 'em up scenes, and all that. Where it was more than just bang bang, and then, oh, you knocked the gun out of my hand, and then she picks it up. And I think honestly they should have saved that part till the end and let her kill Roy at the end. Maybe make it a maybe make the first guy in a total accident. Like, they're wrestling and then Harrison Ford falls down and the other guy falls over him and rolls into the street and then a car runs into him, or something along that line to make it where he's like really giving himself doubt. I can't do this anymore. I'm too old. You know, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. And then you'll get some more. What I'm saying. There'll be more introspective on, why did they bring me back? Was there another reason for this? And don't make it ambiguous that he is a replicant, and he does not fall in love with the replicant. He just wants to. He realizes the potential that she has of where she is and wants to get her free.
Yeah,
something like that. And of course, we need more Gaff. I loved Gaff. Gaff was awesome. He's the guy with the little goatee.
Mm-hmm.
His name is
Mhm.
Edward James Olmos. And those of you that watch Battlestar Galactica will know that he is Commander Adama in the new Battlestar Galactica series. He is fantastic, especially as an older person. I've seen him in so many different things. And, it was weird seeing him so young. When I saw him, I was like, what? No way. But, yeah. All right. That's what I got. Somebody else.
I mean, I'm going to jump on your more action bandwagon. And realistically, I have no crazy ideas this week. I know, shocking. For me, honestly, it really comes down to there are little fixes here and there we talked about. Action's the biggest one for me because I think you could have the same story, more action, and still get the same point across. I almost kind of want to see like an early days, I don't know, like Men in Black almost. A little bit of some of that wit and humor in there, a little more of the action in there. But I mean, like pre-established agency, like early days of the Blade Runner program, something like that, where you have either the rising star or like there just aren't a lot of rules because, it's just now starting. And so, yeah, we are going to invite the retiree back because he's the one who helped get this off the ground. And now we need his advice as this is the first time we've encountered this. I think I would like to see something like that. Add in some of the action and even a little humor would have been nice along the way. I get the seriousness they were trying to invoke, and they did. They did a great job at that. But I think there could have been some moments for a little more reprieve just from the whole film hitting that the whole time. And again, it wouldn't have been much, just small moments. I think that's probably that's probably the zillennial in me that just wants some more humor thrown in there. Realistically, I understand that. I'm a product of my age. It's okay. But yeah, that's probably where I would have taken it a little better.
I would have liked some humor in there too. I think that would have kind of broke up some of the, the seriousness of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Put a little bit more action scenes in there. Put some humor in between Harris and some of the characters. I mean, hell, do the humor between Harrison Ford and the Chinese. Can't even say his name. The guy you just talked about, Dave.
Edward almost Gaff.
Gaff. Yeah. Between them two, put more humor there. Like they work together. Used to, they're like, okay, now let's get started. Let's just put the quick humor in there. They'll break the film up just with something. We want to break the seriousness up. But yeah, I agree. More action, add some humor.
So I found that I like the movies a little more that make you think a little bit. I'm seeing that more in myself. So, but I do agree that it did need some more action. I think a little bit of some witty humor and things like that would have been helpful. Just to kind of move it along, especially kind of in the middle sections where there wasn't a lot going on and they were trying to figure everything out. I do think that I would have liked, honestly, to have a little bit more of background on how we got to where we are. Now Harrison Ford kind of did some of that in his narration going through it. He did, but I'm thinking like even in the a Pacific Rim movie where they kind of have the flashbacks to how the program kind of started and he's kind of narrating through kind of how it started. I actually would have liked to have seen something like that. I think it would have added some to kind of see where did did the Blade Runners come from? Because you're not just talking about it, you're showing it also. So it does some
Right.
of that. You talk more about the excuse me, you talk more about the replicants, where they came from. What are some of the other worlds they were on? Why were they banned from Earth? Different things like that, where it kind of shows some of these things. And you can't spend a lot of time on it, but it's periodically here and there. I think that could have added a lot to it.
Yeah. And I think I just let me add on to mine is if you saw the final cut, you also saw the unicorn scene where he was dreaming about a unicorn. And then again, so when he was laying in the bed and she was playing the piano, he was dreaming of a unicorn that was flying away. And again, that's why they make it ambiguous on he was a replicant, because Gaff at the end, you know how he was making those little origami things. The last one was a unicorn that he found right outside his door. So yeah, fix that. You know, just I understand what they were trying to do is how they're trying to make it as ambiguous so that way you think about it, but I just think it could have been done a little better. You know, I think the acting probably could have been, if it was just the act, some of the way that they portrayed, the way they acted, I think could have probably just fixed that real easily.
Oh yeah.
Without having to change scripts and all that. So,
True.
all right, we have one more thing to do. Now, we don't do other sci-fi stuff all the time, but John's like, you got to do it this week. So, John,
I've been
take
waiting
it
on
away.
this one. Man, I present to our audience a beautiful, glorious video game that is a nice cooperative adventure. It's a 2-player game. It's intended to be 2 players. They even provide a token online where if you own the game, you can share the token and the other person can play free without having the game, because it's what it's intended for. And so it's a game called Split Fiction. And essentially, these 2 ladies you see on screen are authors. And I'm just going to say, without getting too much into revealing the story, that essentially you end up in both of their worlds that they write about. And so one is a sci-fi author. And so all of the worlds you walk through are science fiction, and it hits a lot of Easter eggs in the world that we talk about. The other one is a fantasy author. And so you end up with a lot of the things on that side. And both really kind of take you, I believe, intentionally and unintentionally, through just a lot of pop culture references that they don't hit real in your face. They're very subtle, but you can definitely make connections to things that exist. It's just a really fun game. You go through a lot of different game mechanics in a way that makes sense for the story. You end up in some really stupid and hilarious situations. It's also very fun for me and my wife because we're the ones playing it right now. And let's just say one of us is better at video games, and it's really fun when the other one's not, and you end up having to wait on that person. It's really fun to watch.
You need to learn how to play video games so you can keep up with your wife.
John.
Totally, for sure, 100%. But it is a phenomenal game, and I would recommend it to anyone who owns gaming systems, along with its brethren, It Takes Two. But I specifically recommend this one because of the sci-fi relation.
So is it on PlayStation,
PlayStation,
everything?
PC? I'm pretty sure it's on
Steam?
everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
It's wonderful.
Cool.
Crypto Enterprise.
Please contact us. Tell us if you agree with our ratings or how you would fix or improve this movie, or if there's a movie that you would like us to review. The easiest way to do that is if you're watching us on YouTube is to comment below. For those of you that are audio-only listeners, you can reach us on either X or Facebook at TheseSciFiGuys. Or you could email us, TheseSciFiGuys@gmail.com.
I'm getting ready to hook up a new computer over here. You can't see. So then I might go ahead and put my Steam account back on, because I don't have all my Steam games that I haven't been able to play in forever. Because I'm on a Mac, and Mac you can't play Steam games on. So
Well,
at least
you just got to get a parallel desktop, Dave.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Just run Windows on your Mac.
Oh,
Yeah, you'd be using a lot of your resources.
Yeah, I'm on a
they'll slow it down.
laptop, Mac. All right, so I don't think so.
I am too. It runs it fine.
Yeah, John. Let's see. Let's see how well is it.
It did fine.
Okay. No Apple hate here, Chad.
that's right.
So, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to look at that. That sounds like cool. All right, Shane picked out our next movie. Shane, do you want to kind of tell us what it is?
Sure. So the next movie we are looking at is, there's your hint. It is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I am very, 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 very much looking forward to our questions and our discussions on this movie. It came out in 2016, and it is set before for Episode 4, A New Hope. So I think it's going to be really good, and we'll have some good talks about it.
Yeah, I've gone ahead and pre-rated it. I'm almost 100% confident what my rating for this film is going to be, and I don't care if it's biased.
That's funny.
There's nothing on the spreadsheet. It's blank.
Oh, I didn't click off. Hold on. Oh, look, I'll give you the preview, Dave.
The preview. Here we go.
All right, here we go. I'm looking at it. Yeah, I had a feeling that's what you did. So we shall see. I can tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. To me, you had the original trilogy and Rogue One are the only decent movies that are out there for Star Wars universe. So, because we already, the beginning of this year, we killed the prequels. So, with those sci-fi guys, we went through and we're like, okay, how do we fix this? Because that was that was ugly. And we did, each of us in our own way. So, all right, Rogue One. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, everyone. Remember, no matter where you are, no matter where you go, there you are. Until next time.
Crash and burn. These Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by The Sci-Fi Guy Productions. Super Epic is music courtesy of Alexander Nakarita and is found on creatorchords.com. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow us on X at The Sci-Fi Guys. For our audio-only listeners, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment to let us know how we're doing.